at the screen itself, it shows something about, it tells you something about the topic of today's lesson. Can you give me the topic, or do you have any idea?
Presentation.
Presentation skills, very good. Okay. So first of all, I am going to move on to my next slide and tell me what is the word there. Can you just tell me the word? What's the word? Yes, what's the word?
Glossophobia.
Glossophobia. Okay. Have you heard that word before? Have
No,
you
ma'am.
heard that word before?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Then Puta, can you just, I know you have internet connection, and can you just Google and find out what's the meaning of the word glossophobia? Okay. It's some kind of a phobia. Can you just exactly tell me, find out what type of a phobia it is?
The fear of public speaking.
Sorry?
The fear of public
The
speaking.
fear of public speaking. Okay, glossophobia means the fear of public speaking. So actually this is the medical term that has been given to the fear of public speaking. So Puta, do you have this type of, a fear of public speaking? Do you have this uh, illness, glossophobia? Have you experienced this before? What do you think?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, of course. Yes, okay, let's just find out what actually public speaking is, because today's the lesson is presentation skills, but presentation skills falls into the under the category of public speaking. So let's find out what actually public speaking is. So there is the definition. So public speaking is the act of delivering a speech or a presentation in which the speaker is directly speaking to an audience in a planned, purposeful manner in order to educate, influence or entertain them. Now here, simply that means public speaking means you are speaking to some kind of an audience, in front of an audience, right? That means in public. That's generally in public you are making, it could be a presentation or a speech, right? Basically the idea is you are making the speech or the presentation in public. That's why we call it public speaking, right? And then usually it should be in a planned and a purposeful manner. You should have a purpose and it should be very well planned. Purpose should be to educate or to influence or to entertain the audience. Your purpose may differ. It might be to educate the audience, or to you want to influence the audience, or else you want to entertain the audience, right? So your purpose may differ, and also it should be well planned, right? Your public speaking or the speech or the presentation should be well planned. So when it comes to public speaking, as I asked you earlier, you told me that you have experienced this type of this illness, glossophobia. So actually, how did you come to know that you have glossophobia? How did you diagnose that you have glossophobia? Did you go for a doctor? Did you do a medical checkup? How did you come to know that you have glossophobia? Yes? Have you
After
done?
having to
Yes?
speak in front of an audience.
Sorry? After?
After having to speak in front of an audience,
After
I
having
think.
to speak in front of an audience. Have you made speeches before, Puta? In school? Have you made speeches?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. In English, of course, you may have some of you may have not. But sometimes at one point in your life, you may have experienced this. Right? So can you tell me that now I told you now this is a illness or some glossophobia. Medical term is that the fear of speaking in front of people or in public. So what are the symptoms or what are the features or characteristics that you can see when you get this glossophobia, this sickness or illness? What are the symptoms that we can see or that we can feel? Any characteristic, any features?
Blood pressure.
Sorry? Sorry?
Dry mouth.
Dry mouth, exactly. Dry mouth, okay. What else?
Excessive sweating.
Sorry?
Excessive sweating.
Sweating, start sweating, dry mouth, and what else?
Shivering.
Shivering, trembling. Then?
Increased heart rate.
Increase heart rate, your heartbeat increases. What else? Very good.
Hard to breathe.
It's hard to breathe. That means you have experienced these things, no? I think all of you at one point in your life at least have experienced glossophobia, the symptoms of glossophobia. So I just have a small poem here just to scaffold or just to lead, just as a lead into this session, public speaking. Can you just go through the poem? I'll just read it for you. Public speaking made me nervous. When I was in school, getting up in front of class, I always lost my cool. I memorized my speeches and really knew them well, but between my brains and lips, things just didn't tell. What is it about? Yes, Puta, what is it about? Yeah? The poem is about the symptoms of glossophobia, no? Exactly. So public speaking made me nervous. You know, as you told earlier, when I have to do a public, deliver a speech in public, it made me nervous. In school, this is actually relevant to your context as well. You are just passed your A levels and have entered to a university. In your school, you may have experienced nervousness when you had to do public speeches, right? Especially in another language like English, not in your mother tongue, right? And when I was in school, getting up in front of class, I always lost my cool. I memorized my speeches and really knew them well. I know what I have to tell because I have practiced well. I know the content, but when I go to the stage, go onto the stage or to the front, then things didn't come out of my mouth. Why is that? Because I am nervous, or you were nervous at that time. This is, Puta, actually something common to human beings, right? Don't worry, no worries. Glossophobia is something natural, something common to every human being. Now, it has been said that around 75% of people do have glossophobia. That means the fear of speaking in front of others, especially in public. And when it comes to it in another language, then it would be more than that, right? Glossophobia. So do you like to overcome this glossophobia?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you tell me how you can overcome? What are the strategies or what can you actually do? Glossophobia, the fear of speaking in front of others in another language like English. So what can you actually do? Yes? So don't worry now, public speaking, this is a skill, right? As I have told you earlier, skill is something that we can master by practice, right? Practice is the cornerstone of everything when it comes to any field. It could be a public speech, or it could be a language, another habit, or anything. That's the basic or the cornerstone for everything, right? So we'll look at how to overcome this glossophobia or how to overcome the fear of public speaking through the lesson of presentation skills. Like, because the actual or the exact topic of today's lesson is presentation skills. But presentation skills comes under the topic of public speaking. That's why I first try to give you a glimpse about public speaking, right? So actually up to this point you have been learning different topics related to English language, but I think this is the first time you are going to have some kind of a session related to speaking skill, right? So I hope it's going to be interesting as well as useful, right? So I'm going to start the session, presentation skills, right? So this is the topic of today's lesson, and these are the objectives that I want you to achieve at the end of this session. What are the objectives? You should be able to understand the key elements of effective presentation. At the end of this session or the lesson, you should have a clear understanding or knowledge about what are the key elements of an effective presentation, and then demonstrate improved verbal and non-verbal communication skills. We are going to focus on verbal as well as non-verbal communication, and you should be able to demonstrate those two at the end. And then create visually engaging presentations, right? So I'm going to focus on these three objectives in my today's lesson, and I want you to achieve these three things at the end. So make sure, first thing, please put these three, focus to your mind that I'm going to understand what are the elements of effective presentation. I'm going to learn what are the verbal and non-verbal communication strategies when it comes to presentation skills, and I'm going to learn how to make or prepare visually engaging presentations, right? PowerPoint presentations. Okay, so my next question is, why presentation skills for you? Now, in your context as undergraduates, do you think that presentation skills matter for you? Why do you need presentation skills? Let's look at the reasons why presentation skills matter for undergraduates. Basically, it is obvious. First one, academic success, right? Now, Putha, all of you are undergraduates, and from the first year, very beginning of your journey, academic journey in the university, and up until to the final year, you have to do a lot of things, as I have told you earlier. And when it comes to the activities or the things that you have to do in the university, assessments take place first place in your academic journey. These assessments can be categorized into continuous assessments and final examination. Basically, that's the normal words that we use, but we can say, okay, continuous assessments means you will be assessed continuously during or throughout the semester. Continuously you will be assessed, right? We call them continuous assessments. Or else there is a particular technical term called assessments for learning. And the end exam, we call them assessment of learning. Assessment for learning means we are doing assessments with the intention of learning. Assessment for learning. Assessment of learning, we call for the end exam, because we assess you based on what you have already learned. Now, when it comes to end exam, basically it would be written text, but continuous assessments or assignments, there would be a lot of assignments that you have to do. And at least at one point in your academic journey, you have to do presentations, right? From the first year to final year, you will be able to encounter a lot of presentations as part of your assignments. You might have to do assignments, and the assignment would be a presentation, right? Because we have experienced those things. When it comes to assignment, most of the time there are different subjects you have to learn here, actually courses. In each courses there will be different assignments, and for each assignment the lecturer will decide whether to give what type of assignment, and in that particular courses there will be presentations. So when you deliver well delivered presentation can lead to higher grades, higher marks, and then finally it will affect your GPA and to a final good class, right? So academic success, in order to succeed in academic journey, one of the crucial aspect is presentation skills, because you have to do presentation. It could be based on a topic, particular topic or general topic that you have been given to you by your lecturer, or else it could be a presentation on a report or a research findings, research proposal presentations, and so on, right? So it is important for you to have this skill, master these skills to succeed in academic journey. And the second one, professional advancements. Not only in this context, once you have graduated and entered the world of work, there also this would be really beneficial. This basic foundation, presentation skills, actually when it comes to employability, it would be a a requirement, presentation skills, right? Because especially in business context, you might have to do presentations, especially also sometimes when it comes to interviews, there also you might ask to do a presentation, right? In order to give your best, therefore you need to have a thorough understanding of what is a presentation, how to do a presentation, and also you have practiced, you have mastered that skill, presentation skills, right? And then communication proficiency. Parallelly, when you are a good presenter, that means parallelly you can enhance your communication skills, because you know how to organize your thoughts, you know how to express your ideas cohesively and clearly, because you have experience, you have mastered presentation skills, and then parallelly you can improve your communication proficiency. And the last, confidence building. Obviously, you know that when you doing a public speech or doing a presentation in public means that you have confidence, the ability to do a presentation, at least get up and go front and do a speech. That means you have some kind of confidence. When you do it continuously, regularly, when you practice that skill, then you can boost your confidence as well, right? So these are the four basic that I have, what the reasons that presentation skills are important for you, right? Okay, now actually before going to presentation skills, I just want to show you a video, and this is actually public speech by a great speaker called Manoj Vasudevan, right? So I just want you to watch the video. While watching the video, just think about how this person is trying to get the attention of the audience, what are the strategies he is using here, and what are the special characteristics that you can find out from his speech, right? How he is going to make it more success, right? Okay, let's watch the video.
Vasudevan. Pull less, bend more. Manoj Vasudevan. Pull less, bend more. Pull less, bend more. Manoj Vasudevan.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I was 24 years old. I had a nice job, nice car, nice hair. Still, my girlfriends didn't stay for long. Have you ever had problems in your relationships with others? What was wrong with them? contest chair, ladies and gentlemen, when I was 24, I was living in India. I was still waiting for Cupid to shoot his arrow and find me the perfect partner. Guess what? It seems Cupid doesn't live in India. Soon I went to another angel who had all the answers. My mama. Mama, I can't find good girls. How will I ever marry? She said, no problem. We can fix it. My mama offered to introduce me to some good girls. Nice mama. Soon arrangements were made for my meeting with the first prospect, Sindhu. There she was. Wow! In a beautiful blue dress. She looked like a star from Bollywood. She looked at me like I was George Clooney. Cupid shot his arrow and we fell in love. Do you remember a time when you got into a new relationship? What were you expecting? I imagined spending the rest of my life holding her hand, listening to music, and doing hot yoga. Few weeks later, on the 4th of July, we got married. On America's Independence Day, I lost my independence. We sailed through our honeymoon. Then differences started to emerge. She liked outdoors. I liked indoors. She loved swimming. I feared drowning. She liked cooking. I liked to tell her how I miss my mama's cooking. Hey, I didn't want to follow her ways, and she wasn't willing to change. We argued over big things, over small things, even for nothing. I used logic. I used emotion. I even showed her a role model. Darling, why can't you just be perfect like me? Within 6 months, we grew apart. Under one roof, we were two people living in solitude. No holding hands, no music, only silence. Looking for solutions, I asked my friend Jay. He just had his divorce. He was the expert. Jay said, man, life is short. Don't suffer. Separate. No, Jay, I just want to fix it. Exactly. My lawyer will fix it. I called my mama. Next day, she spoke to both Sindhu and me. She said, you will never find a partner who is 100% perfect. You fall in love because of Cupid's arrow. But what keeps you in love is Cupid's bow. You see, the bow and its string have a great partnership. The more the string pulls back, the more the bow bends. Ego is what pulls the string. Still, the mighty bow bends because it cares for the partner. When she pulls, you bend. When you pull, she bends. If you pull too hard, your relationship will break. If you want to fix it, both of you need to pull less and bend more. Pull less and bend more. Have you seen anyone who pulls too hard? Have you pulled too hard? Since then, during arguments, I became more flexible. When Sindhu wanted to go out, I joined her. When she wanted to swim, I joined her at the shallow end. When I became nice, she became nicer. Soon she started cooking better than Mama. In my search for the perfect partner, I discovered that perfect partners are those who keep perfecting their partnerships by choosing to pull less and bend more. You can see problems in any relationship, within families, between friends, between colleagues, between races, cultures, nations. Today it seems like our world is breaking apart, doesn't it? Still, when you look at this room, you see people from 142 different nations sitting together, shoulder to shoulder, and getting along fine. How is that possible? Toastmasters, you are proof that no matter what our differences are, by choosing to pull less and bend more, we can stay together. Last month, my wife and I celebrated our 19th anniversary. Yes, that's the same wife. Do you think we still argue? Yes, but now even when we argue, we are still holding hands. My mama is no more with us, but her words still rings in our ears. Pull less and bend more. Pull less and bend more. Contest chair.
Okay. So, it is a nice and a wonderful speech by the great speaker, public speaker, Manoj Vasudevan. So, can you tell me what are the strategies that you found that he is using in order to get the attention or get the audience engaged in his speech? Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the speech. So, what are the strategies that he is using there to get the attention or get the audience engaged in his speech? Public speech, yeah?
He spoke very lovely and he expressed his emotions and everything very vastly in that stage. So we can easily communicate, as an audience, we can easily communicate with him as his own experiences. Like we will merge with his emotions. We can.
Emotions, okay, exactly. He is actually expressing his emotion through especially his facial expressions. What else?
Confidence.
Confidence. He is very confident enough, right? Then?
Hand gestures.
Hand gestures. Gestures. He is using his hands. What else?
Body language.
Body language. When it comes to body language, hand gestures. Very good. What about the using stage?
Voice variations. Speaking.
Sorry?
Voice variations.
Voice variations.
Speaking skill.
Speaking skills, okay. Alright, very good. Now he has not become a great speaker or a public speaker overnight. What actually made him become a great speaker is actually, as I told you earlier, the practice, right? That's the practice that's because of the practice he has become such a wonderful or a great public speaker who can impress the audience. I hope you enjoyed this speech, and I just wanted to show it to you, make you motivated, and as well as to show what are the strategies that we can use when we are delivering a speech in public, right? Especially when it comes to a public speech, right? Okay, so then I'm moving on to my lesson, presentation skills. By looking at this picture, what can you say? There are some people there, and one person is standing and he is doing what? Seems like
He is presenting something.
he is presenting something. He is doing a presentation. What about the others?
They are not concentrating the presentation.
They are not concentrating. They are not listening to the presenter. Why? What would be the reason?
Bored.
Boring. The audience look bored, and only the presenter is presenting his presentation, doing the presentation, but when it comes to the audience, they look really bored, right? Do you really want to be like such a presenter? Or
No.
no, never, no, because we are trying here to get good results. That's the main target. So as I told you, as you have to do a lot of presentations, engage in presentations. Now here, in order to overcome or ignore such conditions or such situations like these, there is actually a procedure or the steps that you can follow when it comes to when you have to do a presentation in academic context or any context. We are referring to academic context here, right? So 4 steps actually, 4 P's are, what's the first one? Plan. Second one, prepare. Third one, practice. And fourth one, present. This is the 4 steps that you have to go through in order to come up or in order to do a successful presentation at the end, right? So we are going to look one by one step, each step in detail, one by one, right? So first stage, planning. We know that in order to do anything, we should plan, right? Planning is essential, it is crucial when it comes to anything, and it is also the same when it comes to a presentation. When you have to do a presentation, you have to plan it first. In the planning stage, these are the key questions that you can ask from yourself. Key questions that you can consider when you are in the planning stage of your presentation. Okay, just imagine you are given a topic or an assignment by your lecturer in future to do a presentation, right? So the first question that you should ask from yourself, what's the purpose of this presentation? Just go through, you can just go through the guidelines. The lecturer will give you a guideline sheet. This is the topic, these are the the things that should include in your presentation, and this is the rubric or the grading rubric as well. And then first thing, read the question or the topic of the assignment or the presentation carefully and try to identify what's the purpose. What actually am I supposed to do here? What my lecturer is expected from us or from me? What's the purpose of this presentation? Am I supposed to inform them? Am I supposed to entertain them? Is it to entertain or educate some kind of a topic, right? The first question, please make sure you have a clear understanding about the purpose of your presentation. What's the exact purpose of doing this presentation, right? That's the first question that you have to ask in the planning stage. And the second one, who are your audience? Now, sometimes it would be only your lecturer, only the lecturer, or there would be second examiners, another lecturer from another faculty or department or in your department as well, or else there would be your lecturer, examiner, another examiners as well as another audience. Most of the time it could be your friends or peers in your class, right? So therefore, please make sure to have an idea whether who are the audience, because if they are, now when you are talking about something, presenting something, that means you are presenting information or data about a particular topic, no? Then if you say something wrong, then if the audience, if there are people who have a good or a solid background knowledge about the topic, if you make a mistake, if you say something wrong, that it would affect negatively, right? Therefore, please have an idea about who are the audience. And then the third one, where and when is it happening? Just try to find out when we have to do the presentation exactly. It's really important. What is the deadline or when the date and the time when we have to be there. And sometimes there might be a specific time duration for you or for your group if it is a group presentation. Then you have to be there on time. And then when or where it is happening, the place. Because I'm just asking here to think about the place, because when you have an idea about the place you are going to do the presentation, You can just imagine, you can just visualize how you are doing it when you actually practice the presentation, right? Then okay, if it is this place, then at home in the previous day I can just imagine, okay, this is how I am going to present it next day, this is the way that I am going to present this. Then you can imagine the place and the audience and what you are going to tell them, right? So third question, think about or try to find out where it is happening, and especially the lecturer will give you the date and the time. And then the fourth one, what is the duration for the presentation? Especially, this is really important, please make sure to have an idea about the duration, because you will be given a particular duration, because there are a lot of individuals, a lot of students are there, and the lecturer will give you a particular time duration. Okay, you have only 5 minutes, you have only 10 minutes to do the presentation. Then you should be able to stick into that particular time limit, not exceeding or finishing it off before the exact time, right? So have an understanding about the duration of the presentation. And fifth one, anticipate obstacles. Here you can just think about at this stage also, this stage also, as well as at the end, before practicing stage also, you can think about this, anticipate obstacles. Obstacles means what? What are obstacles, Puta?
Struggles.
Okay, struggles, challenges that you might have to face while you are actually doing the presentation. Just you can anticipate them. Okay, in case if I lose my the pen drive in because the PPT PowerPoint presentation in my pen drive, in case if I lose it, then what would I have to do? Therefore you just have to put it put it into a drive or an email, and you have many options to do. And in case if it online presentation, if you have to face a power failure, power cut, what am I going to do? I should have another option. So you can think about those obstacles. What are the challenges that I might have to face while I am actually doing the presentation, right? You can think about those things as well when you are planning the presentation, right? Okay, so I hope it's clear. The planning stage, the very first key questions that you have to consider. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then after thinking about these questions, you can move on to your content or the things, the information or the data. So how are you going to actually collect data? You have to do a research. Here, brainstorm ideas and gather information. You can brainstorm idea. What is brainstorming? What does the word brainstorm means? Brainstorm means, as the word itself says, it is like a storm in your brain. When you are asked to think about a particular topic, then the other related topics or aspect to that particular topic comes to your mind. Then your mind is like a storm. Everything is going there. Then brainstorming means when you are thinking about a particular topic, you have a previous knowledge. If you have a previous knowledge, some kind of knowledge about that particular topic, at that point you are thinking about, you are recalling, revising those things. That's called brainstorming. Then you can think about those things, or else if you don't know anything, you have to get the information. Especially you have to do a research. Researching means you can read books and find sources, Google, and using internet. There are ample of sources available on the internet. You can just have to type and click, then you have a lot of things available there. It's easy, right? So please make sure to first thing try to find out data, information, or gather information by doing a research on the particular topic that you have been given. And then when you are when you have found out the information or the data, narrow down the topic. We can narrow down each topic into subtopics. If it is a broad general topic, then you can narrow down the subtopics into subtopics. Think about how you are going to divide your topic into subtopics and into each slide. No need to worry about the slides now, just the content. What is the topic, and then how I am going to divide this into each part, subtopics and everything. Narrow down the topic and predict the questions in Q&A session, because here normally after a presentation in academic context, at the end of a presentation you will be asked questions. There will be most of the time Q&A session based on your presentation. You might ask questions based on your presentation, what you have done, what you have presented to the lecturer. Then lecturer will ask questions, then you have to give answers. Then as this is based on the content, here as this is the stage or the step that you are dealing with the content of the presentation, then here you can think about what type of question that they would ask from me, or the lecturer would ask from us, or if it is a group presentation, because you are dealing with the content here. Okay, the lecturer might ask this question. Then you can think about each question, all the questions that you anticipate that the lecturer would ask, and then come up with relevant answers at this point. As you are engaging with the content of the presentation, it's better to think about the Q&A, questions and answer at this point. Is that clear? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, then we have gathered data or the information to our topic, and then preparing the content. The second P, planning, and then the second P, preparing. Preparing the content. Focus on the structure of the presentation. Always think about the structure. What's the organization of your presentation. What am I going to include at the first and then very beginning, and then in the body and the conclusion, and order of the presentation. What are the topics that I am going to include? Then you basically normally we focus on the body. That means what are the things that we are going to include. Key messages, content arranged in themes or sections or subtopics or subsections. Then you can start with the body, and then you can think about the introduction. How you are going to introduce, how if it is the slide, then what are you going to do, include on the slide and everything. Who you are, purpose of the presentation, you can you can tell them at the beginning. And then you can think about the conclusion, what I am going to tell at the end, summary. You have to give a summary of the presentation, and then at the end you have to revise everything and think about how you are going to end the presentation in a interesting way, because normally the very first impression and the last, those things are the most remembered parts when it comes to anything, right? It could be a speech or presentation. So make sure your conclusion is also interesting and engaging, interesting to the audience or the lecturer, right? Then preparing the contents, these are the three aspects that you have to focus on. And then normally when it comes to presentation, we know that in school it would be some kind of a poster presentation and all and so on, or else just the presentation on the students are there. But when it comes to university, in our context, usually we do use PowerPoint presentations when it comes to presentation. So you should also know how to use PowerPoints, how to prepare effective PowerPoint slides presentations, right? So in the preparing stage, we are going to look at next one, how to prepare our slides properly or effectively. So these are the key aspects that you can look at. First one, choose a simple PowerPoint template. always when you have to, I hope you know PowerPoint presentations, PowerPoint, MS PowerPoint, then always when you are given a presentation, go for a simple PowerPoint template. Don't go for distracting templates that there are a lot of designs or pictures as well. Don't go to such PowerPoints. Always try to select a simple PowerPoint slide. And then use appropriate font size and font. Font size and font. When it comes to font size, think about what would be appropriate size for the presentation, topics as well as the body or subtopics. You can decide them. Make sure they are visible, right? All the letters are visible. You can choose an appropriate font size. And when it comes to fonts, do you know there are two types of fonts when it comes to fonts? Fonts, here we call them serif and sans serif. The difference between serif and sans serif fonts, what's the difference? There are two types of fonts, serif and sans serif. So can you tell me what's the difference between these two? Yeah. When it comes to serif fonts, you can see there are some strokes at the end of the letters, right? But when it comes to sans serif, the letters are clear, right? There are no any strokes or at the end of the letters. That's the difference between serif and sans serif. When it comes to serif fonts, normally, for example, Times New Roman and Georgia, Garamond, those are some examples for serif fonts. Sans serif, Arial, that's one example for sans serif fonts. So it's better to go with sans serif font when it comes to screen PowerPoint presentation because they are easy to read and simple and clear. But it's up to you. You can select an appropriate font. I just want to give the idea that sans serif and serif fonts. And then use contrasting colors for text and backgrounds. Please be careful about the colors. Contrasting colors. Contrasting means text and background. When you are using colors to the background of the slide as well as the text, be careful about these colors. Can you see the screen? Beware. Be careful. Is it actually, can you read those letters? It's really difficult, no? Because the colors are not contrasting. Now, red letters on blue background, blue letters on red background, white on yellow, yellow on white, blue on black, blue on black or black on blue. Now, here you have to be careful about choosing your colors when it comes to text as well as the background. Make sure the colors are contrasting. Then you can go, if you are using dark background, go with light colors to text. If you are using light background, go with dark colors to the text, right? So make sure the colors are contrasting colors for texts and backgrounds. And use images and graphics. It's really interesting. When it comes to a presentation, that means you are presenting something to the audience. Then the audience is looking at you as well as the slides. When there are a lot of graphics, not a lot of graphics, when there are graphics at some points, then it would be really interesting. So you can use images, graphs and tables and pictures, anything that would be which are related to your topic, right? Which are related to your topic. And then use colors to highlight text. You can use color or highlight the text, important details, you can highlight them just to show that it is, to emphasize that it is an important aspect. You can highlight the important parts of your PowerPoint slides or texts. And then include slide numbers. It's really important because As I told you, at the end of the presentation, you will be having a Q&A session. And there, the lecturer might ask you to go to slide number 7, go to slide number 8, likewise. Then when you have numbered your slides, it would be really easy for the lecturer. Then there won't be any distractions for you as well. Therefore, please make sure to include slide numbers as well. Okay, got it? Hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Preparation of slide, PowerPoint slides. So I showed you the sans serif and the difference between serif fonts, as well as beware of the colors. And then I have more tips for you when you are preparing the slides. What's the first one? Be consistent with elements such as font, colors and background. Be consistent. What is consistent? What does it mean? Consistent. That means consistency should be there when it comes to font, color and background. If you are using a particular font, particular color and background at the for the very first slide, then it should be the same when it comes to all the slides. The whole PowerPoint presentation should be included the same font, the same color and same background. Then that means consistency, right? So make sure everything is consistent, font, color and background, especially those things. Avoid distracting backgrounds. Always try to avoid distracting backgrounds. I mean, especially as I have included it there, avoid the use of flashy transitions or animations. Don't use flashy distracting transitions or animations. Make it simple and clear. Always try to make it simple, right? Actually, no need of flashy transition. You can go with a simple transition if you really want. Then keep figures simple. Keep figures as well as text simple. I will show you how. And then minimize the text. This is really important. Minimize the text. Now here, a presentation means you are the one who is presenting and the audience is looking at you as well as the presentation. Now just imagine, just look at this next screen or the next slide. This one. Do you actually feel like wanted to read this passage? Do you, actually want to read this passage? Okay, just imagine I am doing the presentation and I have included this passage to my PowerPoint slide. Then I am talking about this one. Are you actually interested in reading this?
No, ma'am.
No, exactly, right? Because why? There is a lot, right? It's actually a full passage, a lot to read. And the audience is there to listen to you, what you are presenting, not to read off the slide, right? So make sure not to include a lot of passages, sentences onto your slides. Always make them simple, just like in bullet points. Just try to, in case if you have to include a passage, it's right, it's all right, but try to minimize the text. Paraphrase or summarize and include it. Always go with bullet points or point forms. That's the better thing, because it would be easy for the audience or the examiner or the lecturer to read the slide as well as to listen to your presentation. So please make sure to include minimum text, right? Avoid the use of flashy transitions, as I told you earlier. Do not overuse animation and sounds. Do not overuse animations or actually as well as the sounds. And do cite and include a reference list. Now here, in academic context, you might learn. Now at this point, you may have not have an idea about referencing and citing. Do you have an idea? How to reference, what are reference and citations? Do you have any idea? Yes or no? Do you have any idea what actually a reference list is and what is citing, in-text citations, what they are? Have you heard those things? Or I'm asking, do you have any idea?
No, ma'am.
No, okay,
No.
that's fine, because this is the very first, you are still in your very first stage, beginning of your academic journey. Now here referencing, citing and those things, I'm going to do another session. There will be another session through in the future, academic writing. There we will be looking at how to cite, how to put in-text citations and references. That means actually if I give you a basic idea of referencing and citing, that means normally when we write assignments or when we using preparing slides, we get information from other sources, no? Normally we find out data, information, maybe from an article, a book, it could be from a website, right? When you get something from another source, another scholar, a source of another scholar, then we have to include and give credit to that particular scholar or to that particular source. That's what we call as citing, and then at the end we have to put a reference list, the details of that source. All the sources should be there. Reference list is that, right? This is crucial when it comes to academic context, right? Therefore, even if it is a presentation, try to include citations and then please include a reference list at the end. You can explore this more by yourselves as well, and we are going to have another session on academic writing in future. There you can find these things as well, right? So make sure you are not including passages like this onto your slides. Right, so up to this point now we have done with the data, we have gathered the information, data to our topic, and we have prepared the content, and we have prepared our slides, and then now what's the next one? You have to think about, after preparing the slides, when you have done with your slides or the PowerPoint presentation, then you have to think about this one. Just think about the script. Here I'm just asking you to think about what you are going to tell, how you are going to start the presentation, what am I going to tell during the presentation, and how I'm going to end the presentation. Just think about it. Then it would be easy if you can just write it down, the script. Write down the script of your presentation. Here I mean just from the basic. If you are a beginner, you can start with the basic thing, even from the greeting, good morning, and then you can go on what you are going to tell, how you are going to present your presentation. Just write it. And then when you are writing, think about the transition words or phrases, how you are going to add some kind of flow to your presentation, right? Transition words. We'll look at what transition words or phrases are when it comes to a presentation. I'm not talking about the writing, right? There is a particular set of words or phrases, transitional words or signaling words when it comes to writing. But in speaking, especially in a context of presentation, you can use words or phrases like these. These phrases would help you to add some. Now, when you use these type of phrases, for example, the topic I intended to discuss is, okay, I'm going to divide this talk into 3 parts. There are 4 main parts that I would like to discuss in my presentation. And let me put this in another way. My next point is, or let me illustrate this by a picture, by a diagram. Or the diagram indicates, the next slide indicates, okay, if the conclusion, to sum up or to conclude, therefore, in conclusion, in summary, thus we can say, and so on. Here these are just few examples for phrases that you can use when you are doing the presentation. Then while you are writing the script, you can also include these things as well. If you are especially a beginner, Then think about other phrases as well. Try to find out what are the things that I can use while I am doing the presentation. When you are using these phrases, then you sounds like you speak naturally. When you are using these type of phrases, you sounds like you speak naturally. Otherwise, you would sound like a robot, right? Then actually these phrases add some flow to your presentation, some kind of a flow, because the presentation should be, there should be some kind of a flow, everything should be connected, right? So please make sure to use these type of phrases while you're actually doing the presentation. Then you can think about those things at the preparing stage when you are writing the script as well, if you are really a beginner, right? And then that's about what? Planning, preparing, and what's the next P?
Practice.
Practicing. Now, as I told you earlier, practice is the cornerstone. Practice is the key aspect to everything and to presentations as well. So Puta, if you practice well, then that's going to, work. So when it comes to practicing, I'm moving on to my next slide. Practice. Rehearse in front of a crowd. So I have few aspects, a few points there. Practice till perfect. Now there is a common saying that practice makes perfect. It is actually true when it comes to everything. In your academic context or anything, practice is the key aspect. Or key, what? The golden key would say, right? The golden key to everything is practice. So presentation, when it comes to presentation, I am asking you to rehearse in front of a crowd. Now normally when teachers or when people ask you to do practice something, especially a speech, normally we ask you to practice it in front of a mirror, right? That's the basic way that I have heard. A lot of people say, okay, go front of a mirror and practice. But here I am asking, go in front of a crowd and practice. Here crowd means I am telling not a big crowd. It could be 2 people. One person, it all right, but it would be better 2 or 3 people together. Here when you are given a presentation as an assignment, when you are practicing, you have your family members or else you have your friends. Just ask them to sit somewhere and go in front of them and do your presentation, practice your presentation in front of them. Why am I asking you to do that way without going in front of a mirror? Can you tell me? Any reason? Why am I asking you to practice in front of a real crowd, in front of 2 or 3 people? Why? What's the reason?
Because we can make enough confidence in front of the crowd.
Okay, because we can
make enough confidence in front of crowd.
Very good, yeah. Now here, when you are in front of a mirror, you can see yourself. You don't have any reactions from the other side, right? Because you can see only you. But when it comes to other people, you can see their faces. You can see each person, and you can see their reactions. Then when you see their reactions, you get used to it. And then it parallelly boosts your confidence, and then actually when you are doing the presentation, you will not face that much of difficulty because you have already used to it, to the reaction of the audience. That's why I am asking you to always try to practice in front of especially 2 or 3 people. It could be your siblings, your brothers and sisters, or your parents, mother and father, or just ask them to go there and sit, and then I'm going to do my presentation, and then ask them to look at yourself, and if they know anything, then ask them to anything if they want to ask any questions, right? Then you can do what? Take notes. While you are practicing, take down notes, because why? Okay, the first practice step, okay, just imagine you are going to practice first time. This is the first time that you are going to practice the presentation. Then when you are practicing, you are not perfect no at that time, first time. Then you can take down notes, what are the places, where are the places that I made mistakes, that I feel like, okay, I don't feel confident at this point. Then you can just note down it and then think about how you can tell it, or how you can tell it another way. Likewise, experiment. You can do experiments while you are practicing. Experiments here, experiments means you can just, okay, while you are practicing, think about, okay, if I say it like this way, what would happen? Experiment. Or else if I say it another way, is it okay, or is it better than that way? Likewise, you can just experiment doing things, how to deliver or how to do actually present your presentation. This is, we are still in our practicing stage, right? And the very important aspect, time yourself. As we looked at earlier, you will be given a period, duration to do your presentation. So especially when you are given a presentation as an assignment, when you are practicing, keep a timer, stopwatch. You have smartphones, there is a stopwatch, switch on, on it and the stopwatch and start your presentation, and just check how much time you want to do the presentation. If it exceed the exact time limit, then try to cut down some parts that you feel like unimportant. And then if you feel like you end the presentation before the exact time, try to add some things to the script, some things to your presentation, or try to slow down your speed, right? Because when we are doing, especially when you are speaking, we tend to go fast. That's the normal way. That's especially because of the nervousness. So always try to maintain an average speed while you are presenting, but make sure to stick onto the exact time limit. So therefore, time yourself. This is especially important when it comes to a group presentation. If it is an individual presentation, doesn't matter, it's only you have time. But group presentation, you have to consider this more than that, right? Because you have to give time to everybody. And then record yourself. Another aspect that you can do here while you are practicing, you can record yourself. Recording means I am just asking you to switch on the recorder on your smartphone and record what you are saying, how you are practicing, while you are practicing. And then later just listen to your the recording. Then you can find out, this is the way that I am telling this, I am presenting actually, because we don't hear what we, we have we can hear what we are telling, but we don't have actually that kind of understanding about our presentation when we are actually doing it. But later when you have a chance to listen to your presentation, then you can just find out lot of things. Then you can find out the places that you feel like you are not confident at that point. It is not correct. The point is incorrect. That's not the correct word that I have to use. Likewise, you can find lot of mistakes, errors that you have made. Therefore, record yourself and try to find out how you are actually presenting, right? And don't read off the script. This is the most important one, and something that is common, that we have experienced in this context, in university context. A lot of students are doing this mistake or making this mistake. What's that? They are reading off the script. Now when it comes to presentation means you have to present, not to read off a script. It's not a reading competition, right? It is a presentation. Then you are the one, you have to present the ideas to the audience. The audience is, or the examiner is looking at you. and if you are reading off the script, it's not going to work and it will affect negatively to your mark. Now here, while you are practicing, you can use the script once, twice and 3 times, but once you feel like okay, I am confident enough to talk naturally and without the script, keep it away. I am asking you to write a script just to help you to, as you are beginners, right? So you can use it as a guide at the first time, second and the third time, and then keep it away and try to speak naturally, because you know the content and also you know the organization or the structure, and also you have the PowerPoint. One by one you can go to one slide, talk about that. Don't read off the slide or don't read off the script. As I told you, if you don't include passages to the slide, then you don't have to read off the slide as well. You can explain the point on the slide in your own words. Always try to do that. Put only the important part to the slide and try to explain it by yourself, by your own words. That's the correct way, right? Don't put everything onto the slide and reading off the slide as well. It's not correct. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
any questions? Practice till perfect. So please put that into your mind. Practice is the key, right? Okay, then we are done with the practicing stage, and then I'm moving on to the next P. What's that?
Present.
Presenting. So now here we have come to the actual presentation, doing or presenting the presentation. Present. Here, now you know that when you are doing when you actually do the presentation or the presenting the presentation, as I told you earlier, it's really natural to be nervous, right? But if you focus on these two aspects very well, especially in the practicing stage, then I think it would be really beneficial for you to overcome that fearness, right? So we'll look at what are the two key aspects that we have to focus on here: verbal and non-verbal communication. When you are presenting, verbal means voicing the verbal and non-verbal communication as well, right? Right? Okay, then the non-verbal communication, we'll go with that first. When it comes to non-verbal, okay, verbal means we know that talking, right? Non-verbal communication, we can divide it actually into two, as especially when it comes to a speech or a presentation, voice as well as the other part, body language. Those two are the main aspects when it comes to non-verbal communication. So voice modulation, as we looked at, as we watched the speech by Manoj Vasudevan, you may have seen, you may have noticed how he variate his voice when it comes to different places or points in his speech. So these are the key 4 aspects that you have to focus on when you are focusing on the voice of your presentation, when you are actually doing the presentation. So the first one, volume. Please make sure you are audible enough, right? Make sure you are audible enough to the others. Don't speak with a lower voice, or don't scream or louder. Speak more than loud enough, right? Try to keep your volume at average volume, and make your volume or the sound, make you sound audible and audible enough to the people in front of you, right? Volume. And then tone. Tone means actually the emotions, especially when it comes to presentation. If you just think about the emotions that you can use, try to vary your tone. We can vary our tone, the way we tell something, We can vary depending on the idea that we are giving. If it is something happy, something sad, or something excited, the tone, you can change the tone, the way you tell something. Then think about the tone. And pausing, especially the pausing. Now, if you can remember at the very beginning point in the Manoj Vasudevan speech, he comes to the stage and just be silent at the very first, right? So pausing means you are keep getting some break, at least just for you to, breathe and think about what you are going to tell next, right? So pausing is also important. As I told you, don't do your presentation very speed, don't go very fast, right? And then pausing and emphasis. Emphasis means here you can emphasize different words based on the idea that you want to give. Try to emphasize the words. Now when you are focusing on these aspects, then and modulate your voice, then it adds some kind of color to your presentation. Because the audience or when the examiner or the audience listen to a monotone means the exact same volume, the same tone, without any pauses, speed is very fast and without any emphasis, then it's going to, the audience will actually, or the examiner will actually get bored easily, right? Therefore, think about how to change your volume and add some color to your presentation. But don't overdo it. I'm asking just to do it an average point, right? And then here also the same thing is there in the on the next slide as well, just like a diagram. 5 P's of presenting when it comes to voice: project, pronounce, pace, pitch and pause. Pauses also there. Silence emphasizes a significant point. And pitch, a varied tone keeps things interesting. Tone, change the tone based on the ideas that you are giving. Pace, speak just a little faster than normal, because why? You have a time limitation. Therefore, in order to achieve everything within that duration, you have to speak just a little faster than normal, because it's a presentation and a time duration is there. And then pronounce, say words clearly, because if you mispronounce a word, then it would lead to misunderstandings, right? Misinterpretations. Therefore, say words clearly. Project, direct your voice to the audience. Always project your voice to the audience. Make sure you are audible, right? So those are the 5 P's, or the aspects that you have to consider when you are actually presenting in terms of voice modulation, right? And the next point of nonverbal communication is body language. Now, as you can see the picture, the person is using, as also in the previous video as well, we show that I showed you, or you watch the video and you might have noticed how that person is using his body language to get the attention or the attraction of the audience. Especially now, as it is a public speech, you don't need that much of you don't need to use that much of body language or voice modulation, because it is actually public speech. But when it comes to presentation, it would be really beneficial for you to think about body language as well in terms of presentations, right? I am asking you to think about these things because they will add, as I told you earlier, more color to your presentation. Then the lecturer or the examiner feel like this is interesting, because the student is making it more interesting using body language, voice modulations and everything, right? So body language, posture. What is posture? The way you stand. If it is a presentation in person physically, then go front and stand straight. Open your body to the audience. Don't slant your slant to one side. Don't cross your arms, or don't put your hands into your pockets. Don't do that. Open your body to the audience and have a good posture while you are doing the presentation, right? And make yourself pleasant to the examiner. And then gestures. What are gestures? As I told you, gestures, it would be basically the use of body, especially the hands and arms. Hands, usually, as I experienced, when we speak, we tend to use hands, right? Have you experienced that? When we speak to somebody, especially delivering a speech, we tend to use our hands. Have you experienced that? Have you seen that? Even when I am here talking, I am also using my hands because from my experience, I feel like when I use my hands when I am talking or when I am speaking, when I use my hands, it's just like some kind of backup, it gives some kind of confidence to me as my experience, right? So just try it out, just check whether it's also true to yourself as well. While you're speaking, while you're practicing, just try to use your hands. Don't overdo it. I'm not asking to overdo. Please use your hands at average and then try to make it more interesting, right? And then eye contact. Eye contact is really important. If you are reading off a script, you know your eye contact your eye is on your script. If you are reading off the slide, you know your eye is on the slide, not on the audience. So make sure your eye is on your audience. Eye contact, and also please share your eye contact to everybody. If there is a group of people, that means in your audience, or if it is an examiner, look at her or look at him or the lecturer, and then please present the presentation. If there are other people, please share your eye contact to everybody, right? And one thing I want to emphasize here, if it is an online presentation, make sure you are looking at the camera. Don't look at other areas, don't look at any scripts or reading of any written pieces, right? Look at the camera and do the presentation. And then facial expressions. Now here, as you are changing or modulating your voice, you can change your facial expressions as well. It's really nice when you change your facial expressions. Now, when it comes to the content of it actually depends on the content of your presentation. If it is actually educational, if it is actually something general in the academic context, you might not encounter anything emotional when it comes to presentation. But there might be some topics that you have to present on that includes emotions. At that point, you can use your facial expressions as well. At least even when you are doing the presentation, try to change your expressions. Smile, as well as try to smile to the lecturer or the audience as much as possible to make yourself pleasant, right? So body language, that's about the second aspect of non-verbal communication when it comes to doing a presentation, right? Any questions? Was it clear? Now up to this point, we have covered all the piece or all the steps of doing a presentation. Shall I move on to the next one? Okay, all right. Now here, before moving to the next slide, I just want to show you another video of a presentation. But the thing is, this presentation, the presentation that the girl in this video is doing, it's not actually a good presentation. There are a lot of mistakes, right? I'm going to show that video, and I want you to tell me, okay, just jot down what are the mistakes that this girl is making here. What are the mistakes? What are the mistakes that girl is doing or making in that video when it comes to doing a presentation? Based on the things that you have learned so far, that I have told you so far, just try to jot down what are the mistakes, and we'll see how many mistakes we can find out.
Can't get it to work. Someone help me? Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about paraphrasing. By the end of today's session, you'll know about why we use references, the differences between quotes and paraphrasing, and how to paraphrase. There are three main reasons why it's important to use references. Validate your point of view, plagiarism, and source of future investigation. So there's two ways to reference in text: quotes and paraphrasing. A quotation is when you use another author's statement in your assignment without changing it. Quotations should be used selectively and kept to a minimum. Quotations should not be overly long. Paraphrasing is when you write about a source you have read using your own words. There's more to paraphrasing than just changing one or two words from the original source, and paraphrasing shows your understanding to a reader. This is an example of a quote. In academic writing, it's essential to state the sources of ideas and information. Such references allow readers to refer back to the sources themselves. I'm going to show you how to paraphrase it. Cottrell states that in writing it is important to state the sources of ideas. References allow readers to find the sources themselves. This was my first attempt. That's the original. What do you think? Well, it's not very good, because you can see I've only changed one or two words. I changed essential to important, and I changed to find to instead of to refer back. So it's not very good.
Okay.
This was my next attempt. Cottrell states that referencing should always be used when using the ideas and opinions of others in academic writing, so the original source can be easily located. What do you think about this one?
I think that one...
Anyway, so this is much better. As you can see, I've tried to put it in my own words. So what do you need to include when you paraphrase in text? You need to put the surname of the author or the name of the organisation. You need to put the year of publication. In a sentence, it might look like this. At the start of a sentence, Cottrell stated that plagiarism is a confusing and difficult concept to fully understand. And at the end of the sentence, plagiarism is confusing and a difficult concept to fully understand. You can see that the author's surname and date is there. Okay, conclusion. Referencing correctly can strengthen your assignments. When paraphrasing, you should write down what the author has said completely in your own words. You must still give credit to the person whose idea you're using when paraphrasing by referencing correctly. Got any questions? No? Okay. Finished.
Okay, so I hope you watched the video and was able to find out the mistakes as well as the mistakes were there at the end of the video as well. Can you just give me few? Okay, can you just tell me? Sorry? Yeah?
Contrast background.
Contrasting, there was no contrasting background or text colors.
Unnecessary animations, transitions.
Unnecessary animations are there when it comes to the animations or transitions. Then
No eye contact.
no eye contact at all with the audience.
Crossing hands.
Crossing hands, she is actually looking at the slide but not the audience. She actually show his backside to the audience and looking at looking at the slide, and then
He didn't give any time to ask questions.
yeah, she actually didn't give any chance to answer the questions for the audience. What else? When it comes to font color, I mean the color, red background and the black text. No, as I told you earlier, it's not appropriate, it's actually difficult. And what about the font size and font color, I mean the fonts?
Minimum size fonts.
Inconsistency.
Minimum, yeah, actually they are really difficult to read. And also what about consistency? Yeah?
Inconsistency. It's not consistent.
Yeah, there was no any consistent. The first slide one font, and when it comes to the at the end, throughout the presentation there are different slides, fonts and font sizes into each slide. Anything else?
I think photos is not appropriate.
There is no any sorry?
At the last slide or before that, there's a photo in the right top of the corner, and it's hiding.
It's hiding. It's not very clear. It's not visible.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What else? Anything else? At the very beginning,
she didn't introduce herself at the beginning, and she started
introduce herself, and she was actually not ready to do the presentation, right? She was wondering how to start this and asking for help from somebody. What else?
It's not good when we start the presentation, then drinking water. We should.
Yeah. She is not actually giving a good first impression to the audience. She is actually just engaging in her own situation, just drinking water. Anything else? Okay, do you think she will get good marks for her presentation from the lecturer or the examiner? Will she?
No,
never. No. So because everything in that presentation, all the things that she is doing there is the opposite of the things that we have looked so far. Now we have looked the things, or the aspects that we have to follow to do a well presentation, to deliver a successful presentation. And the things that we watched in that video, they are complete the opposite of those things, right? Therefore, please make sure not to follow those things. Make sure to follow the things that we have discussed so far, right? Okay, then I hope it was really useful for you to identify what are the mistakes when it comes to doing an academic presentation. And then I have another point for you too, because now I told you this earlier as well, when it comes to assignments, most of the time you will be given presentations to work groups, right? Due to the number of students in a class, maybe you might get a lot of group presentation. More than individual presentation, you will ask to do group presentations. Group presentation means you will be given a group. That means you will be divided into groups, and then you will be asked to do presentations. Then you have to talk with your group members, and then you have to come up with your presentation. Then I have included some steps or a procedure that you have to think about when you have to do a group presentation. How to do a killer group presentation? Killer mean actually an excellent or successful group presentation. The presentation needs to be cohesive rather than delivered as a collection of separate parts. Now we know when you are given a presentation, group presentation, each and every individual think about ourselves or themselves, right? That means we think about ourselves. We always try to get good results for us or to me, right? But when it comes to a group presentation, you can't think only about you. You have to think about the others as well, because this is a group presentation. Every chunk or every part of your presentation is done by one individual, and everything should be connected. It should be one unity or entity, right? The presentation needs to be cohesive. It should be one entity, it should be connected, everything should be connected, and a collection, not a collection of separate parts. When students are doing presentation, we can feel, the lecturer can feel whether they have worked as a team, whether there is a unity, and whether they are just delivering or they are just doing their part only. The lecturer can identify, recognize it easily when you actually do the presentation. Therefore, make sure the presentation, group presentation, it is a unified, there is a unity, right, and a connected entity. So you can begin by dividing the subject matter into smaller manageable sections. When you are given the topic, think about how you can divide the subtopics. I'm just going the same order as we looked at earlier in terms of group presentations, right? So just think about how you can divide the topic into smaller subtopics, just to break down the topic into different parts and give it to each member. Then early division of the content is crucial for efficient research and reading, because assign each team member a specific area to research independently will help prevent duplication of effort. When you give each member a particular part to do the research and find out information, then there would not be any duplications. Duplications would not be there, then two people would not find out the same thing, because one person has a particular topic to find out, right? So just divide the topic, subtopics, and give each member a topic, title or a subtopic to research, because the first thing is you have to do a research and find out information. During the meeting, normally when you have to do a presentation, you have to discuss with your group. It could be, if you are online, it could be a Zoom meeting or WhatsApp voice call, whatever. Then during the meeting, designate a finisher who is comfortable with PowerPoint and has a design skills. You can just think about one person, you can discuss together and come up with a decision to give the finisher. That means he is the one who is going to compile all the parts together and prepare the PowerPoint slide. It's up to you. You can just do it as get together at one point and do it get together, or else you can ask somebody or assign somebody that task. It's up to you, right? And then creating individual slides. After assigning specific slides to each member, focus on creating your individual slides, because you have been given a part. Focus on designing or preparing each of your slide, your part. And then during this stage, prioritize the visuals and text content over design elements like fonts, colors and background. Don't think about font, colors and background. Keep them the default font and color and background, because at the end the finisher will going to put consistent background, color and fonts to all the slides. Therefore, you have to prioritize the visuals and the textual content there when you are individually preparing your slides. And then bringing the slides together. Once everyone has completed their slides, send them to the designated finisher, or else you can get together and finish it, the slide, PowerPoint slide. The finisher's role is to assemble slides into cohesive presentation, ensure they appear as a unified entity. Make sure consistency is there. The finisher will have some flexibility to adjust slides if necessary, but maintain the consistency, right? And then the next one, practicing. Get together and practice. Arrange a meeting where all team members can practice delivering the presentation together. Now, when you are practicing individual slide delivery, each team member should be prepared to deliver the slides they have created. Before coming to the practice stage, at home individually you can practice yourself, your part, and then come together and then practice again as a group. Ensure that everyone actively participates in presenting their assigned content. Ensure that everyone is actively participating, because it is a teamwork, right? Always try to show that you have worked as a team. Team spirit is there, right? Equal time for each member. This is really important. Keep a stopwatch and check your time whether each member. Now, when you are given a time duration, okay, just imagine 15 minutes. Each group has been given 15 minutes to do the presentation. Then divide the 15 minutes equally among the members, right? Among the number of members, then just try to equally divide the time, and please ensure, we have experienced this, the people or the students who start the presentation and who are the very first presenter or in the front line, they take more time. They exceed the time. They actually exceed time, and when it comes to the people at the end, then they might not get time, because the time duration exceeds, because the others or the previous or the students who do the presentation, the first presenter, second presenter, they exceed their time limit. Therefore, please think about your group members, everybody, and make sure you only stick into your time duration, to your time, right? And give the chance to the other person. Make sure to divide the time equally. Practicing tips. Smooth transition, make the presentation flow smoothly by professional handing over to each other, because this is a group presentation. Always try to hand over the next part to the next presenter. You can use phrases like, okay, that's my part and I'm going to hand over the presentation to your friend. You can tell the name and ask her or him to come to and do the presentation and continue the presentation, right? Because after each transition, because transition phrases helps as well as I told you earlier, to add some flow, right? And designated locations. Decide where team members who are not currently speaking will stand or sit until it's their turn to present. Because if it is a physical presentation, if you are doing the presentation in person in a classroom, when you go as a team to the front, decide where the other students are going to stand until one is presenting, during or while the one presenter is presenting. You can decide that as well. These small things show your team work, right? And then check timing, review the timings for the entire presentation and consider adding more detail or simplifying content if necessary, and practice without notes. As I told you earlier, don't use the script. You can just keep a piece of paper, just jot down few key items just to remind yourself to what to talk about next. Then you can just keep that in your hand, but by just looking at it, and then you can talk about it. Don't keep lengthy pieces, papers, scripts with you. It would affect to your mark, right? Always try to speak naturally. Even though you are memorizing, not memorizing, actually try to speak naturally. It comes with practicing, right? As I told you earlier, practice is the basic key, right? Okay, these are the references that I have, and this is the last slide. Great presenters are not born, they are trained. This is because this is a skill, no? We can master a skill, we can build, or we can improve a particular skill by practicing, by doing. It is not presentation or presentation skills, they are not inborn, right? We can develop them, we can master those things only by practicing and training. Presenting is a skill that can be developed through practice and experience, right? So Putta, please make sure now you are at the very beginning of your academic journey. Once you have finished your pre-intensive course, then you will start your the actual academic semester. Then you will be having lectures, and throughout the semester there will be assignments. For those assignments there might be presentations. So when you are given a presentation, please make sure to focus on every aspect that I have included here and you learned today. And the other thing is, usually I also told, I was thinking about telling this to you. Now the other thing is, don't waste your time. Most of the time when the lecturer gives an assignment or a presentation to do, they give more time for you to prepare. At least 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it depends on the lecturer and the time. Normally they do give enough time for you to get ready for the presentation, and make sure to start researching and then go on the process, but start it at the very first day when you are given the presentation or the assignment. Because I am telling you, procrastination means postponing works or things. We are postponed, right? That means, okay, we think like we have more time, no need to do it today, okay, let's do it tomorrow. We have more time, let's do it tomorrow night. Likewise, don't think about that way, because I am telling you with my experience, if you wait at the end, if you wait till the end, the last point, then you will fail. You will have to face a lot of difficulties, right? You may have get stress, and you might not be able to get good results because you don't have much time. So you can't give enough your full support, your full effort to do it, because you don't have much time, you are stressed, right? Therefore, please do your work on time. When you are given a presentation or assignment, start it on that particular day itself and go on. Then you would have enough time to practice. That's the basic, most important thing. Then you would have enough time to practice, and it will help you to achieve a well delivered, a successful presentation, and get good marks, and at the end, consequently, to get a good GPA and a good class, right? Okay, any questions? So that's the end of the lesson today. Any questions that you want to ask, or any clarifications? Was it clear? I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Then, if so, we can wind up the session. I hope the session was helpful for you, and this will be really beneficial for your future work, academic work. Okay, then thank you so much for joining, and we'll meet again with another session, an important session. Goodbye and have a productive day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.